And I'm sitting up here thinking, we were robbed. This was going to be the train wreck of the season. Like, I wanted to see more. I couldn't believe that they stole this trashy drama from us. Welcome to La Vida Rosa. I'm your host, Pinky, and today we're going to be talking about Love is Blind. So if you'd like to see more, then just stay tuned. But before we begin, I would like for everyone to check out my website, lavidarosastyle.com, where you can find cute accessories like the ones I'm wearing right now. They're from my autumn leaf collection. I have them in many different colors and styles, so make sure you check those out. Like, comment, and subscribe. Without further ado, let's get into this video. So in these episodes, most of the couples are finally meeting each other. Why does everybody have freckles? I thought that was interesting that many of the people meeting each other like, oh, you have freckles. Once again, I'm so happy to see that Black women are being chosen and seemingly really being loved on and not being chosen just to stay on the show. We'll see if it's really real, but it's feeling that way. It never ceases to amaze me though on these shows when people are like talking to each other and saying like, I love you and you know me, you know how I am. No, I don't. Like, you just met each other a couple weeks ago. I know y'all spent endless time together in those pods, but y'all just are figuring out how each other look. What do you mean you know me? So I'm going to go ahead and start with Garrett and Taylor. We see them on the trip together, and obviously they can't wait to show off their scientific tattoos to each other. Once again, I feel like they're going to be more so the boring couple this season. We're not going to see too much action from them. They're going to get along very well. They're going to be very compatible. One odd thing that threw me off about Garrett though is he sleeps with mouth tape. And I've never heard of that in my life. And I looked it up, and sleep tape is used to encourage nasal breathing while sleeping. The goal is to improve sleep quality by reducing snoring, mouth breathing, dry mouth cavities, and other issues associated with breathing through the mouth. While I see the benefits, the way my allergies are set up, I probably would not even be able to breathe through my nose because these nostrils stay blockaded, okay? All right, let's go ahead and move on to Tyler and Ashley. Once again, they're on the trip as well. Another couple that are getting along very well, very compatible. They discuss intimacy because that's not something they really talked about in the pods. She said that she has been abstinent for the past few years and she wanted to focus on herself and find the right one to marry. Pretty much, he said he's kind of been on that same wave. They get into the hot tub together. He takes off his shirt and he feels a little insecure about his love handles and a little extra weight he might have put on. And she said, well, you know, I love it because this just means you're a man. You're not a boy, you're a man. So he made him feel secure in that. I see why he calls her his safe space because no matter what, she uplifts him. He had a bunch of tattoos and she was like, well, when you gonna get a tattoo of my name or of me? And he was like, I got a little space right here just for you. I'm like, y'all, please don't do that. I thought you were not supposed to get your partner's name tattooed on you or it's the end of your relationship. That's what I heard. It could just be a old wives' tale. You know, while they're in the hot tub, like he trying to be all up on her and she's kind of holding back a little bit. And I could tell she just doing that because they're on camera. I can tell. But anyway, once it was time for bed, they pray together before they go to sleep. And, you know, they're just having a great time so far. So then we have Monica and Steven. When we pick up on them, he is ready to propose to her already. And it's crazy because he proposed to her without her even saying I love you back to him. But in her answer, she said it back. She said him being a fifth Black and being proud of that was a major selling point to her. And I'm just like, okay, it was a little weird that she brought that up in the in accepting the proposal, but okay. When they met each other, he immediately took off running to her. I don't blame him because she looks like a model, okay? She's tall, thin, gorgeous woman. I don't know that he would be everybody's cup of tea, but she was attracted to him. And that's all that mattered. Not only did he propose to her and give her her ring, but he also gave her his t-shirt with his cologne on it. When they were kissing each other, them kisses was long. This man was taking full advantage, okay? Doing the absolute most. When they would kiss, he pulled her in tight, okay? When she stood up and did a 360, he was just like, couldn't take it. Like, this man was very much happy with his fiance. You can kind of tell he ain't never had a baddie like that. They go on the trip. Once again, he's not holding back. He's all over her. She seems like she's, receptive. It's not like she doesn't want him to be on her, but it was just the fact that he was kind of thirsty. Like, dang. He was talking about how he was ready whenever she was ready. He got a full Brazilian. I'm like, TMI. We did not have to know that. And she was just saying how she waited 36 years for someone like this. It's hard to be 36 and single. You're going to weddings, being in weddings, going to baptisms, doing all of these things that your, friends and family are doing around you. It's kind of hard to watch when that's something that you want as well. And she feels like she finally found love. And it didn't come from where she thought it would. She would always be very hard on men and saying they have to be from a prestigious institute or a certain pedigree. And he went to a 2-year college and is an electrician. But that doesn't matter to her. Ideally, this is not what she would go for, but she's happy with him. So we'll see how that works out in the long run. So then we have Tim and Alex. And he gifted her his sister's bracelet. And his sister is deceased. And he said, you'll never get the opportunity to meet them, but I want you to know that because I love you, they will love you too. And that was a very touching moment. I was hoping that wasn't a love bombing moment, because he's bringing these sisters up a lot and kind of like pulling out a lot of sympathy. I'm not saying he's doing it on purpose, but if somebody were to be scamming and love bombing, I feel like that's a good way to do it. So it's kind of like, I feel bad, but at the same time, like, what are you really trying to do with it? So at this point, he's ready to propose to her. And he read this letter that he wrote to her father asking for her hand in marriage first. And I thought that was a very nice touch. He proposes, she accepts. And then when they finally meet each other, I was a little nervous. I'm not going to lie, because you know how men have been on the show about weight. And even height, with some men is a problem. When he first saw her and he verbally said, I already knew you was gorgeous, I already knew it, I was like, okay. I love that he's giving her confirmation, especially if he's being sincere about it. I love that he was giving her that immediate validation, because a lot of women are, insecure and nervous that the men would not be attracted to them. And it was funny because she said that she's nearsighted. So she literally wasn't able to see him at first until she got up on him. But she's attracted to him as well. Their meeting was a little awkward. She seemed like she was a little, dodgy of the kisses a little bit. She did kiss him, don't get me wrong. But it was like, maybe she was nervous. Maybe she didn't want to do it on camera. I don't know. Maybe she didn't want to do that immediately. I don't understand what the dog talk was about. Did I miss something? But whenever he talks about dog or his dog or something, it irritates her, and he keeps like kind of like poking at her with it, and she's like, please stop. So I'm like, am I missing? Y'all let me know down below. Am I missing something with that? I don't understand. Like, I feel like kind of out of the inside joke. He made sure to show that he had a crooked bottom row of teeth. I don't know why he felt the need to do that, but she also showed hers, and I was like, twins. Anyway, they end up going on the trip. She pretty much proclaimed to be bossy and doesn't seem like she has a problem with that or she's trying to change that. She was letting him know. And he was like, well, you can be bossy all you want to. I'm an immovable object. He's really stubborn. And she was like, well, I used to have a short temper. And he claims that he doesn't argue or yell. And if he does argue or yell, that's completely out of his character. And so that must mean it's time for him to leave the relationship. So she was like, well, you won't beg for your wife? And he was like, pretty much like, no, I'm stubborn. Both of y'all petty. Like, both of y'all are petty. She is coming off as extremely immature and like a spoiled brat and like my way or the highway, or I'm going to whine and be mad until I get my way. And he's like the same way he said he bought this shirt out of spite because when his ex-girlfriends told him that they didn't like it, he'll be petty because of it. Like, even if she's right in a situation, he'll still do the opposite because he just want to be contrary. And I'm just like, y'all gonna butt heads. I see it now. Y'all butting heads real bad. But once again, this dog comment comes in. I don't understand the dog statement. I don't know if I see it for them, y'all. I don't know if they're gonna make it. Let's move on to the Bodon, Marissa, and Ramses love triangle. I thought it was hilarious how her and Bodon went in on 45. It was hilarious. He said he's not your typical military man. He's more liberal. They more so get along on a friendship level. You really don't get romance from them, even though they seem really compatible. But she had a conversation with Ramses and found out his sign, and they were really compatible in that way. Like, she lost her mind when she found out what his sign was, child. That's when she felt the need to break it to Bodon that, you know, she has romantic feelings for Ramses, and that's who she wants to be with. And he handles it very well. I feel like he kind of knew. He knew. So it wasn't a big deal. I always felt like Ramses was going to be the one to get her because he was more jealous. And not jealous in a ugly way, but jealous as far as, I want you to myself. I don't want anyone else to have you. And I feel like you need a certain amount of that if you're going to be in love with somebody, because that just comes along with it. You're not going to be okay with them, you know, just willy-nilly hanging out with other people. So I feel like that was another deciding factor. But anyway, he wrote her a beautiful letter, and in it he said, "Tuck me in the space between your heartbeat." That was so romantic. Obviously, Marissa went crazy over that. He proposes, she accepts. They meet each other, and I had no doubt they would be attracted to each other. First of all, because she said that she loves, like, you know, liberal men. She loves that look. So I knew she would be A-okay with the two dreads just hanging out of his fade. But do they not look alike to y'all? Like, they really do look like they could be family. Like, y'all might need to do ancestry DNA type of look alike. But anyway, they were all over each other in more ways than one, child. They probably were the first couple out of all of them to lay it down, okay? Because they could not keep that lust under wraps. Finally, let's move into this love square between Hannah, Leo, Britney, and Nick. We're picking up with Hannah and Leo, where he's badgering her to death over making this decision to drop him and be with Nick. And he kept asking her, "What would you say if I asked you to marry me right now?" And just going on this long diatribe, like just trying to mess with her head and make her, you know, second guess her decision instead of just accepting it. He was saying, you know, "Are you just going to be with him? Is he the person for you just because he was the first one to say I love you?" She was just saying, "Well, at least Nick is committed to me." I'm just like, you're doing all of this and you can't even give her any guarantees. Like, it was really insane to sit there and watch. Like, I could barely take it. Like, and I can't imagine how she felt being on the receiving end of it. And really the whole time I wanted her to dunk on him so bad. Like, it was always Nick the whole time. You were playing games with me. I wanted her to just tell him off. Tell him the real. Like, go in and say exactly what's on your mind. Don't let this man tear you down and make you feel like you're not capable of making the right decision. Obviously, she felt some type of way in the moment, but I feel like when she got back to the pods and when she talked to the other women, she realized what he was doing. He was trying to get in her head and manipulate her. So she immediately went and told Britney everything that he said and how manipulative he was trying to be, talking about how he was trying to, you know, make her second guess her decision to be with Nick because he claimed that he still had feelings for her or whatever. So obviously, Britney felt some type of way about that. Meanwhile, he's over in the pods and he's relaying what happened with Hannah in front of Nick. While he's telling this story, he accidentally called Hannah Britney. Looking stupid. You know, he started saying, yeah, when we were having a conversation, she was so emotional. Talking about Hannah. She was so emotional, she could barely speak. And Nick wasn't shook at all. He was like, well, she told me she loved me like 10 times and told me I was the one. I don't know what to tell you. So he ends up meeting back with Hannah, and he apologized to her for badgering her the way that he did, and he pretty much made her tell him that she forgave him. He said that Nick is better for you than I am. And she was like, yeah, I knew that this entire time. He's been my person the whole way. And he was like, well, that's how I feel about Britney. Pretty much trying to rewrite history. Now you want to claim Britney. Now you want to act like you have your sights set on Britney. When just the other day, you was trying to make it seem like you could possibly propose to Hannah. So he tried to manipulate her into making it seem like the breakup was mutual. Like, well, just let Britney know that it's been her the entire time and I really want to be with her, and that our breakup was mutual, so that she doesn't think that he's choosing her by default. Obviously, Hannah was in her feelings after that conversation. You know, she cut him off or whatever. He tried to act like he tried to beat her to the punch, but she cut him off. And she told Britney that Leo wanted her to lie and say that the breakup was mutual and that he cares about her. So after all that happens between Hannah and Leo, we're gonna stick a pin in Leo and talk about him later. But Nick goes ahead and proposes to Hannah. Obviously, she accepts. Now, when they met each other, first of all, shout out to Hannah for the non-transferable lipstick. They needed some of that on Love is Blind UK, because when she kissed him, that red lipstick stayed in place and we didn't see none on his face. I was like, round of applause. Hannah was nervous that he wouldn't be attracted to her. And I think Nick knew what he was getting himself into. But when Hannah saw him, she was not pleased. And you could see it all over her face. You could see it in her body language. She was a little standoffish. She claims that he pretty much lied about his appearance, and he made it seem like he was this big football player, very broad and tall or whatever. And remember, he said he looked like Henry Cavill, and I already told y'all he didn't look nothing like that, right? So obviously, when you build yourself up to look like something, when the person actually sees you, it's a huge letdown. So I wasn't mad at her when she wasn't impressed when she saw him. Because not only did he not look like that, he wasn't tall, and she was expecting that. Look, it's not like he's just completely short. They were pretty much the same height when she had heels on. It was crazy because when he did see that she was wearing heels, he was like, way to embarrass me by wearing heels. She felt some type of way about that. She was like, well, I'm a tall girl, but I'm gonna still wear my heels. And, she was like, I don't have a problem with him being shorter, but men tend to feel emasculated when they're shorter than their woman. In my mind, I'm like, girl, no, you're just not attracted to him. You're not. You're just not attracted to him at all. You could tell. Because later on, she said something about how she's used to dating jocks, like big football player men that all the girls want. Everybody's looking at him. He's fine. That's the type of guy she normally dates. And I would like to see her exes, by the way. But that's what she says. She normally dates that. And she was not pleased to see him when he looked like that. So it was a very standoffish, awkward first meeting. She was being very superficial about it because the whole point is to be attracted to the person's personality and for the outside not to matter. That was the whole point of this experiment. So she was being very superficial. And I'm going to give him credit. He was trying to make her feel comfortable. He still was going along with it. Even though he felt that, he was still being a good sport about it. At the end of their meeting, when they walk away from each other and how they'll turn around and look back, she never looked back. And I was like, oh, that's a clear sign she was not interested. It seems like by the time she got to the trip, she was kind of warming up to him a little bit more after the initial shock of him not looking like what he said he would look like. There was a certain point where they were in the pool and they were all over each other. He did mention at some point that he didn't want to talk about their intimate life because he wants to keep his brand clean. I guess whatever brand he has, he doesn't want to talk about that in public, and he doesn't want her to either. They're like on a good page at this point. At some point they go to the beach, and there are like these little, some sort of duck contraption that you can ride and play with in the sand. And he says, oh, I want to go ride the ducks. And she was like, a man riding anything gives her the ick. And I'm just like, well, that's judgmental and problematic. Like, why would you say that? Pretty much she said she was too cool and too grown to do something like that. So he was like, fine, if you don't want to go do it, I'll do it myself. Because, I mean, they're on vacation. He's trying to have fun. He's trying to, liven up the moment. So he goes and gets on the duck. Older woman comes over and she gets on the duck next to him. He was like, okay, we'll race. So you can't be mad at him at this point because you didn't want to do it with him. So somebody else came over there and did it. And so, as he's doing it, she's like, oh, he's such an idiot. She's acting embarrassed by the whole thing. Then she calls his name like, Nick, come here. And the woman was like, oh, I know you're not over there being jealous. And I'm not gonna lie, the woman was doing a little bit too much. Like, she was doing a little bit too much. I do not need for you to address me. And I will say, I would have felt some type of way if a lady would have said that and my man was over there laughing with her. Both of y'all gonna get some words, okay? So she a little bit better than me in that situation. He ends up going through with the little duck race, and he's joking around, laughing and having fun. After the race, he high fives a woman. They have like a little, nothing crazy. They just laughing together or whatever. And while all that's happening, she's saying to herself, he can't be trusted. And you could definitely see the energy has shifted between those two. He basically said, wow, you really are jealous. And he's like, well, how will you handle being around the other couples? And pretty much like, I can't be myself around you. And I understood where he was coming from for sure. She was being a party pooper in that moment, like trying to be too cool for school. We're on vacation, like make fun of yourself. Like we can make light of this situation. It doesn't have to be that deep. But at the same time, when that woman started talking crazy, you were supposed to get up and leave. You were supposed to check her something. He could have said, that's my girl. You don't say that to her. Something. So I kind of understood where both of them were coming from. But she started it. So now let's go back to the pods and talk about Leo and Britt. Britt now feels like she is in the position of power, whereas before she felt like Leo was pulling all the strings and, hanging over her head, whether or not kind of yo-yoing her feelings of, Hannah versus Britney, like who will he choose? And so now she starts reading this letter to him and pretty much said, I had so much stuff I wanted to say to you about how much I loved you, but I crossed all that out. And she said that his interaction with Hannah turned her off, and you have everybody looking at me crazy and makes me look like I'm settling if I stay with you. And, I thought she was really going to stand on business. Like, what's the point of writing that letter unless you're going to do that, right? At least make him sweat a little bit. But as soon as he said, I love you, and read a corny poem, they were all of a sudden engaged. I was like, ma'am, like, you didn't make him work at all. Like, that didn't take much. You want that money, and you making it very clear that's all you want. Neither of them felt genuine at all when it came to their relationship. The entire time, neither one felt sincere. So they end up meeting each other. He was obviously attracted to her. I mean, how could he not be? That's probably his type. Blonde, big boobs, skinny, the woman of his dreams pretty much. But when she saw him and he tried to kiss her and she did like that, I was like, yeah, you just here for the money. You just here for the money. You know it. He knows it. We all see it. He knows he would never get a woman like her in real life. And they both said it. And whenever they would kiss each other, he was having to hold her head and lock her into place. I don't know if y'all ever seen Flavor of Love, but Flavor Flav used to kiss them like that. He used to hold their head like almost in a headlock when he would kiss them. And I would always think like, that looks very uncomfortable and I should have the freedom to be able to move back if I want to. So she ends up asking him, what do you love about me? And, he gave a little BS answer. Oh, I love what you bring out of me. And I love that you had the good intuition to stick with me. And she wasn't having it, so she made him go in depth and he had to scrape up some other stuff, right? So then he flipped it on her. So what do you like about me? And she was gagged. I'm like, how, girl, you a gold digger. How did you not have an answer ready? You know this man was going to give you that same question back. Like, she was literally choked up. She didn't know what to say. She was like, I didn't expect, this is so much pressure. She said, well, you made me feel like an option for a second, but you were just doing what you were supposed to do. What does that have to do with him as a person? They really couldn't make it any more obvious that they were only here. Well, that she's only here for the money, that he's only here for her looks, and they are both only here for TV and clout. I'm like, that's the best you could come up with? So anyway, they wrap it up. It's very, very awkward. Very, like, there's no chemistry whatsoever between those two. She hasn't even said, I love you back to this man. How has he proposed? Y'all have finally seen each other in person and you still haven't said, I love you back. Why even propose in the first place? Why accept the proposal? They are a joke. But once their meeting was finally over, she looked very relieved that he was walking away. And at the very end, we see in bold letters that they were not chosen as one of the 6 couples to go to Mexico. And I'm sitting up here thinking, we were robbed. This was going to be the train wreck of the season. Like, I wanted to see more. I couldn't believe that they stole this trashy drama from us. I get it. Love is Blind is trying to legitimize itself and get some of its integrity back and maybe have some successful couples for once. And I do feel like that's the reason why they chose the couples that they chose. But y'all could have gave 1 slot to these people. And 2, if y'all weren't going to do that, why did y'all give us the whole backstory? Why did you give them so much airtime? Because they didn't get chosen to go to Mexico, they went to Miami together and they eventually broke off their engagement a couple of weeks later. And, she claims their breakup was mutual. Are you sure Leo didn't tell you to say that just the same way he told Hannah to say that? Yeah, anyway, I knew they weren't going to last. I think we all knew they were faking it. And maybe that's why production didn't choose them, because they were so clearly doing it for the clout. They were so clearly doing it to just be on the show. You know what I'm saying? It didn't even make sense for her to accept his proposal in that moment, especially since she had not said I love you yet. So maybe because the production was like, y'all playing in my face. I don't know, but I'm just like, we wanted to see that. Like we didn't mind seeing that train wreck. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think about these 2 episodes down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? I'd love to hear your opinion. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.